Welcome back to the Will Is Podcast. On this wonderful Thursday, here we are. Yeah, we back on Thursday. We on schedule this time. Me, Dr. A.E., and Mr. Jeep. Yeah, we here live too. So check it out. We're gonna put on a good show. This is gonna be, of course, the WIP, the importance of history, and my story. I like to call it mystery. So, with Dr. AE, we're going to break down some things. We got a couple of book shares and things like that that we want to pick up on if he needs them. This show won't be as long and extended, but it will be very powerful. And we're going to cook real good too. So, um, the AE, I'm just going to ask you the first question, me and Mr. G. How do you feel, how relevant, how important, and how particularly explicit should we understand history? Why is important? Why is it so and such a necessity? Uh, in the words of Dr. John Henry Clark, he would say something. He would say something akin to like history lets you know where you are on your timeline, what you have done, your chronology. You know the things that your people were put on the map and recognized by the world. So I want you to really expound and let us know why it's important to appreciate where you're from and never be ashamed of that. Always be proud of. I mean, throughout the world, we're a global show, right?
Definitely.
So go ahead and give us your good understanding of why we should treat each other well and the importance of history and respecting each other and just history within itself and also the mystery, my story. You got to go in.
All right. As always, I'm always with looking at both, right? The theoretical and the practical.
Absolutely.
This time, though, I'm gonna start with the practical. We're gonna go general, and then we're gonna narrow it down to who we should always narrow it down to, which is us.
That's right.
Generally, the general answer is if you do not know your history, then you are doomed to repeat the past. Now that is the absolute truth. That is a fact. It's not a well. That's a no. It's a fact. And I'm gonna give a good one. Like I said, we're gonna start general. Then we're gonna break it all the way down. And so when Napoleon tried to conquer the world, right? He made one mistake. When he was actually getting it done, he was doing everything he wanted to do, but he made one mistake. He tried to cross Russia in the dead of winter.
Mm.
And so when his army got about halfway, the winter hit, the cold weather, the brutal terrain with the cold weather, it actually defeated the army more than any other army or man could have.
Absolutely.
Right? Mother Nature
Whoop
beat them down.
ass.
Let's just call it like it is.
That's right.
Right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, we fast forward. Hitler, during World War II, was actually on a rampage. He was rolling. He had already taken France. He had crippled England such that the fact that the United States had to jump in and try to do something to help. And so his advisors told him, let's just continue to do what we're doing, hold off, and then we'll go get Russia. But he didn't listen.
Right.
He did the exact same thing that Napoleon tried. And he went into Russia. He got about, again, he got a little over halfway, and the dead of winter hit. And his troops got caught out there in the mix. Mm-hmm. And so, again, the winter and Mother Nature defeated the German army. So by the time they got to Russia and by the time they got to Stalingrad, everybody was already there waiting on them, and they were so beat down, there was no way that they could even really put up a real fight.
Right.
And so Hitler was really put down by making the same mistake that Napoleon had made years before. And so that's a true live in your face story about how if you do not learn your history, you're doomed to make the mistakes of the past. Now that's the practical.
Absolutely.
Theoretically, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was just a practical example. Theoretically, for us, for our people, because our history has been denied, it has been wiped out,
Mm-hmm.
it has been whitewashed, and it has done all of these different things. It has left this psychological effect that we are actually lesser in comparison to other people in the world when we have actually done far more than most people in the world. We've really done the most under the most strenuous circumstances.
Absolutely.
And so that in itself deals with our psyche and it deals with our self-esteem.
Yes, indeed.
And this is how that helps that whole thing and negative concept that they have about blacks and anything done black is going to be cheap. It's going to be less than. It's going to be so much worse than if somebody else did it for you.
Right.
It's going to be half behind, right?
Right.
And so it all feeds from that basic psyche. And it comes from not knowing your history, not knowing your culture, not knowing all of the real advancements that we as a people have given the world.
Absolutely.
From eons of years ago, even into modern time with refrigeration and things of that nature. We created refrigeration.
Absolutely.
Which ushered in modern times.
Yes.
Helped usher in modern times.
And transport refrigeration at that.
Yes. And that's a quick one. I'll give you a quick. If you ever heard that term, I don't want that, I want the real McCoy.
That's
that
right.
actually comes from Elijah McCoy.
Elijah McCoy, that's right. Yes, sir.
And Elijah McCoy, so many people tried to duplicate what he created that people started saying, I don't want that. I want the real McCoy.
Yes, indeed.
And that's where it really came from.
That's the facts.
And so we got to understand, right, that we have to continue to dig out our history and tell the truth, in whatever shape, form. Reading, looking at various information from what I call edutainment.
Yes, indeed.
Right?
Absolutely.
Just different things. For kids, you have the little cards. We have the almost like playing cards that just have this basic information that they won't teach in school because they know that cultural reinforcements are just as important as the information itself.
Absolutely.
And so our history goes again directly to our self-esteem, and it goes directly to our own character building and who we believe we are and what we can achieve. And so in African diaspora studies, right? And when I say African diaspora studies, I'm basically saying in black studies. I don't care if you black in Trinidad, black in Lagos, Nigeria. I don't care where you are.
Absolutely.
We're talking about black people, period.
Globally.
Right?
Globally.
When you look at black studies or African diaspora studies, right?
Yes,
they're
indeed.
really those, what I call the three phases, right? The first phase is providing a voice to the voiceless.
Yes,
right?
Indeed.
Because our stories, our accomplishments, our gifts to the world have been, again, whitewashed, taken away, denied, or even lied upon.
Absolutely.
Right? So that's the first thing in providing a voice to the voiceless. The second thing is making those cultural connections because we are. It doesn't matter if you are an indigenous melanated person whose ancestors were here in America, or again, you are from Trinidad by way of the Congo. Doesn't matter. Does not matter.
Let's go as far as
cultural. There are cultural traits that came from our experience and came from our ancestors.
That's right.
That we all share. So that's the second thing, right?
Yes, indeed.
And then the third thing, which is the most important and what we're really talking about today in his, it is using that historical information to look at and solve issues that we're dealing with today. And that's really the whole thing about learning history. Not that you're doomed to make the mistakes of the past. You're doomed to make the mistakes of the past because you're not using the history to actually look at issues that you're dealing with today.
Mm-hmm.
And so that, again, is the practical part of it. It's the theoretical and the practical coming together, right?
Yes, indeed.
And so that's where we really are, right? We are really at the point where our history means so much more now because we need to know who we are now more than ever.
Yes, indeed.
And it's not just a history fact and a history tidbit, right? I'll give you another good example. Our black children need to know all of the different things that black people have done, not just way back in the past, not just the 1800s, not the 1900s, things that they're doing now.
Yes, indeed.
You know, the brother that invented the little super soaker gun, you know, millions of children and adults actually play with those
college
students,
students,
right?
Oh my goodness.
You see, so when they hear these things, when our children hear those things, then they open their minds up to what they can achieve. And they can break themselves out of that niche.
Right.
You know, that they can create their own niche and break themselves out of that smaller niche that everybody keeps putting us in.
Yes, indeed.
That we need to be this, you have to be that. Young people need to understand we live in the greatest time. So they have to be exposed to everything that they could possibly be.
Yes, indeed.
You know, and I give you a quick story. I never forget this. I had a woman I was dating at the time, right? An ex-girlfriend.
Right.
And so she introduced me. Of course, I met her family, and I met her grandfather. And her grandfather was asking me, what do I do? And she broke it down. She was like, Granddaddy, you like Indiana Jones, right? And he was like, yeah, you know, I love those Indiana Jones movies.
Yeah.
You know, come on, girl. And so she was like, well, that's what he does. He's the Indiana Jones for black folk.
Right.
And at that point, he got it, you know? And so I say that to say all our children need to hear what we do out there that may be outside of the box.
That's right.
So that they can start thinking outside of the box.
Absolutely.
They have to see these other professions.
Mm-hmm.
They have to see these other people. They have to hear those stories.
Absolutely.
Of how they achieved, how they did this and put it with that. How this person was good with their hands. And then they went and got with their friend, and their friend taught them a little business background. And so they were able to open up their own business because now they got enough business background to at least get this company started. But they concentrate on that one good thing that they're good at.
Right.
And they turn it into a business.
Mm-hmm.
But they have to be exposed. They have to see us doing these things.
Mm-hmm.
They have to know our history of us doing these things.
Right.
And that's what it really boils down to, brother.
Very appreciative of that description of the importance of history. Now, just to kind of add and expound on a few more tidbits from my experiences. When it comes to history, you know, even from a personal perspective, knowing your mother and your father, knowing your parents, knowing their parents, if you have those opportunities, you know, it's very good to understand and know your history because that's your story. That's your mystery. That's your my story element. So that my story element serves you very well if you had physical ailments, if you had, you know, if you had, what do they call them, Dr. A? They call them when your parents give you, or you inherit some form of an illness, those inherited traits,
Right, those genetic
those genetic
traits.
those genetic traits. So it's very important to know those things. That's how you know how to live, how you govern yourself, what to eat, what not to eat. So even on a specific personal level, it is very important to know your personal history as well. But we're going to get back to the flip side of the equation with the with the what is it? The theoretical and the practical.
Mm-hmm.
So we're gonna flip that coin, and we're gonna pose another question for the great doctor, A.E. Dixon. So when it comes to being proud of where you're from, the foods you eat, uh, what your people have displayed and given to the world, what your people fame is for, and you know, um, without any degradation, how can we get to a place globally to where we start respecting people as a people, and then people that are even try to mask or hide where they come from, how can we help them be proud of where they come from, embrace it, and not be so elusive and pretentious? How can we bring people together
Well,
and embrace where they're from, vice, you know, being pretentious and
at this point, where we are now, we have to start with the basics. That's just all it is to it.
Yes, sir.
We have to start with the basics, and when I say basics, I mean we even have to start being cognitive of how we talk to each other.
Oh, that's extremely big communication.
The how we greet each other, how we talk to each other, the words that we say, because we have gotten to a point, and it's nothing fine with us having our own dialect and everything else that we have in the community. But when it gets to the point where the majority of those words are negative, and it gets to the point where the conversation always, and if not always, is a very, 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 very good chance it becomes adversarial at some point.
Absolutely.
Or it becomes to a point where one person is trying to one up the other. Like, oh, I said that. Oh, well, I said that. Like we're always in competition with each other.
Right.
When we aren't. And it's sad, though, we've gotten to that point. Even with our male-female relationships.
Man. Yes, sir.
It's the ideas that one person is going to try to run game on the other, right? That this man is going to try to get whatever he can out of her, whether it be a place to stay or sexual or whatever the thing may be.
Right.
And then it's the idea that she's trying to get over, right? That she's trying to get him to pay bills, or she just want to use him for this. It's always some point where we always have this chance where it's going to turn adversarial.
Right.
And so we gotta cut that out. And the only way we do it is go back to the basics. How we talk to each other, then how we treat each other, the belief in each other.
Yes,
because in this day and time, I'm just gonna call it like it TI is. In this day and time, others are forcing us almost to recognize that we really are all we have.
You're right.
And the next step is to understand that we're really all we need. And when we get to that, then we really cooking with grease, like people say.
That's right. Yes, indeed.
But it starts really with the basics, and it has. It has gotten to the point where everything pushed about us is negative. and it has gotten to the psyche of some of us.
Yes, indeed.
That simply, and it doesn't matter. I've seen it every place. I've seen it in the college classroom. I've seen it on the corner at the outside the corner store. I've seen it in the black middle class, uh, low income. I've seen even black indigenous people.
Oh, yes, indeed.
We just got some people have gotten to that psyche where they want to be anything but black. They want to be anything but black. And it is what it is my opinion, and I'm still going to give it.
That's
when
right.
you look at, and I want to give you this example, when you look at and you listen to her talk, Candace Owens wants to be anything but black. And she accepts it only because her skin tone dictates it, and she knows larger forces and larger communities outside in the American society as a whole will put it on her.
Absolutely.
But if she had the chance to change it all, she would. And she has done it psychologically.
Oh, man.
And she's done it culturally.
Yes, she has.
You know, and I'm going to give you the famous words of someone else. Not famous, but infamous words.
Right.
West. Remember the brother West that was the military guy that was running for all the different political offices out of Florida? West. He was one of the top black conservatives at one point.
Oh, okay. I think
West said.
Yeah. Yes,
West
indeed.
said, right?
Okay.
My skin is a curse. You see what, and that's the psychological effect, right? That's the psychological effect that has happened when everything black is negative. And so knowing your history, knowing all of the accomplishments, knowing the world we made before Europeans.
Absolutely.
Knowing that world, the accomplishments, the truth, you know, that blacks, melanated people were running Egypt before the Egyptians you see today.
And those are what you call the Ptolemies.
And so understanding these things gives our children hope.
That's right.
But it also practically gives us the tools to deal with issues we facing today.
Yes, indeed. Those are facts. So we're going to pose another question. When it comes to entertainment, when it comes to, if you look behind that shelf right there, all those Marvel books, and we got Star Wars all around here. We're talking about the Galactics. You know, all of how the betrayal or the portrayal of whites in space or any other type of people in space. When you're known as a being, when you have this complexion, you're called stardust. That's what human beings are called, stardust, because you have melanin. The whole sky is full of melanin, dark matter. So if dark doesn't matter, why is everything dark? If you look at everything in antiquity, it's all dark. If you look at the whole globe was all dark. There's no civilization on the planet that didn't start originally dark. So my whole point is, I think we should be extremely proud where we stand. Get to know where you're rooted. Get to know where you are and why you are. So even if you do immigrate to another country, a nation, you can pay the indigenous and you can pay the people respect, because that shows that you value their culture, who they are. It gives you a platform to appreciate wherever you want to go in the world, because you should do your research. And you should always want to see and understand how a place developed because that's a part of our human collective lexicon. So, Dr. A.E., how is how important is it to know where you reside, where you live, where you stay, even if you have migrated from somewhere? How important is it to know those things?
Well, I mean, they have long since proven that when you try to find yourself
Mm-hmm.
in another person's spectrum, in other words, when you try to apply all of those things in their culture
Mm-hmm.
to yourself when you're not in that culture, you don't have that specific history, then it often leads to more destruction than anything positive, right?
Yes, indeed.
And again, you know, we can go back to her. I'm just gonna use her again as an example, right? When you look at Candace Owens, it's fine. Let's say she does. She would rather be white
Yes,
than black,
yes, yeah,
right?
yes. I
Let's
totally.
just let's just say
That's a
that. I
thousand
mean,
percent. I agree. I agree with that.
to me, that's obvious, right?
Wholeheartedly.
I
It's
mean,
completely. Look at the
everything is.
verbiage, the way she talks, the way she
But see,
her
that's
mannerisms.
what I'm getting at, right?
I mean,
That's one thing, right? But when you continuously have negative things to say about black people and don't even discuss the root problems of that, knowing that it stems from some of the things that whites have done, and you refuse to discuss that
acknowledge or even acknowledge.
or acknowledge it. I agree. When you continuously just talk about the negative and you talk about black people in such a negative light, right?
Mm.
That's a different degree. If you just want to be white, then go. You can immerse yourself thoroughly into their
Who
culture. You can
cares?
go into their communities. You can do all of that.
Right.
But when you go to the step where you continuously talk
Degrade.
negative and degrade blacks and never sit down with a conversation a fourth as long as the conversations you have that negatively talk about black people. You don't sit down in a fourth of the time
No, not at
to
all.
talk about the issues, the history of the problem, the root of the problem, and what are some real solutions. You
So
know, then that's something very different. You know, that's very different. If you want to go, go. You know, if you want to immerse yourself over there, go. You can go to you can go to the heartland where there's 10 to 1 whites to every minority, not just black. You got 10 white people in here, one minority,
that
period.
is.
If that's what you want to
That's right.
do.
Straight up.
But to continuously come back though and degrade and talk about your own people is something else. You have something else going on.
Yeah. We call that, that's a cocktail of
Self-hate.
things. That's a cocktail of self hate. You got cognitive dissonance in there. You got self hate. You got denial. You got. I mean, it's a cocktail of you know misfortune in the mind. She's that's the off kilter person is how I see that, and that's not really trying to talk negative about her to the most destructive degree, but she creates her own destructive path by her ways.
Well, and I just used her as an example, and I don't want to harp on her. I'm
Yeah,
just
but
saying that
that type.
mindset. She just happened to be an example that we can use that everybody knows about.
Yes.
But personally, everybody, well, not everybody, but most people do know someone like that personally.
Personally.
They come across this person where they realize, well, this person just don't want to be black.
At all.
They hate the fact they black. You know?
Yes. We know they out there. And so that's why we got that saying, all skin folk ain't kin folk.
So, but I think to get back to our point
yes,
of the
indeed.
podcast, this particular segment,
right?
More history, more knowledge of self, more knowledge of the contributions of blacks and what they have done
Yes, indeed.
counters that tremendously, right? And
I
it
agree.
gives a chance to push the needle back from all of this chaos that we're in now.
Yes, indeed. So, well, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you've enjoyed the show. We can do another. I don't know how long AE gonna be in town, but we'll definitely be back virtually. I have to fix my issues. I got my cans. They right here, my peoples. They right here. I got them. I'm gonna utilize them so that we can have a better show. The next time they get rid of that echo, that echo, I didn't like that either. So my apologies. We're gonna make sure we get better, do better, and keep on putting out, some great, great, great fundamental material and some. We're gonna go a little further and deeper sometimes too, but we're gonna make sure we meet our marks. We're making sure we're giving you this information, from because this is what we're passionate about. This we just two brothers that are passionate about our crafts, and we just have to give it to you and let you know the importance of these things. So, especially the importance of history and how it affects you. So, AE, take us away with a great send us off real well, sir.
Well, let's go with the basics. God bless. One love.
So,
Because we truly are all we need.
all righty. So, hey, from here we go, y'all. Look at you, y'all. All right. So, once again, y'all say it with us, say it with me. The will. I'm gonna get AE to say it with one day. Say it with me, y'all. Say it with me. Come on, come on. The will is yours. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. My dog. My brother, my brother. Yes, indeed.